All right, shalom, shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rachak, Quadash, double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, wherever you may be, wherever you may be, shalom, Yeshua, shalom. We're going to jump into Exodus chapter 8, all right? And there's two portions to this chapter here, all right, dealing with the plagues. Well, two plagues, all right, is what I mean when I say two portions here. So the first one, all right, we're going to start where it says frogs over the land, all right. Exodus chapter 8, verse 1. So it says, "And the Lord Yahweh spake unto Moses, go unto Pharaoh, and say unto him, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, let my people go, that they may serve me. And if thou refuse to let them go, behold, I will smite all thy borders with frogs." All right. So this is the plague that the Lord said he was going to bring. All right. Frogs upon the land. And it says, "And the river shall bring forth frogs abundantly." Okay. And this is talking about mainly from the Nile River. Let me finish this verse. It says, and the river shall bring forth frogs abundantly, which shall go up and come into thine house, and into thy bedchamber, and upon thy bed, and into the house of thy servants, and upon thy people, and into thine ovens, and into thy kneading troughs. All right. Yeah, especially because I was going to read in a different version, but real quick, dealing with the kneading troughs. Basically, like, as a matter of fact, let's see if we can pull this up. Like where you set your dough so it can rise, right? Set your dough to to the side so it can rise. Because I used to be a baker back in the day. I forget the name of the man, what's the big little machine you put it into? I forget the exact name for it. Trying to think, man, what they call it. I forget. It's been so long. All right, because this was like, I don't know, probably 2005 or somewhere around there, maybe 2006, give or take. Probably more like 2006. Anywhere between 2005 2006. But anyways, so what you would do after you mix the dough up, you got your big, huge wad of dough, and so you're gonna cut up the portions, into these smaller portions. The bigger dough to smaller portion, whatever you're gonna make. Let's say you're making hamburger buns, and you serve different size hamburgers. Maybe you serve kid burgers, so those would be smaller buns. So you cut up the dough, in a general size. All right. Then maybe you got bigger burgers, so you would cut up bigger portions of dough, and so you have your numbers. So you know how many you need, and you know how many fit on each tray. Say 12 of the small ones can fit on this one, and only, I don't know, 9 of the bigger ones. All right. So you once you cut it up, you put it into the I cannot think of the name of the machine, but it's basically, so you sit it in there so the dough can properly rise. All right. And then once you bring it out of that, that's when you put it into the oven, and bam, you bake the bread. All right. So these kneading troughs will be similar. Oh, I didn't pull up the word yet. To where they will put their dough to the side so it could rise. All right. The word there is masha'arath, kneading trough or bowl. Let's see what here they have here. Sha'ar. To remain, be left over, left behind, remain a remnant. All right. So let's see if we can pull up kneading trough. Actually, let's not get into it because I got something else I want to pull up. And if I do that, it'll probably knock it off the screen. But yeah, that's pretty much going into that kneading troughs. And I said I was going to read this in the AMP or the NLT. So yeah, you see how it says, however, if you refuse to let them go, hear this: I am going to strike your entire land with frogs. The Nile, all right, because that was that main river source, all right, flowing from Upper Egypt to Lower Egypt, all right, which Upper Egypt was south, all right, and the reason why it's called Upper Egypt is because it's higher up in elevation, so the Nile River will actually flow southward, even though the stream is moving upward. I mean, it's flowing southward, as in it's going, like, it's downward. Let's put it that way, like in the downhill motion. Not saying it's steep like a hill or whatever, just saying that Upper Egypt, which is lower, at the bottom portion, when you look on the map, see Upper Egypt, Lower Egypt. You see Upper Egypt is down below, and you might think, well, wait a minute, why is this like this? Right? It's because of the elevation, all right? And Lower Egypt was up north because Lower Egypt was lower than Upper Egypt. So that's why you see, it on the map in that manner. So it says the Nile will swarm with frogs, which will come up and go into your home, into your bedroom, and onto your bed, and into the houses of your servants, and on your people, and into your ovens and your kneading bowls. All right. So, and this is major, right? For you just deal with something as small as frogs. Okay. Because it says in your home. So there's no peace in your home, right? In your bedroom. Okay. So there's no peace in your bedroom. And then furthermore, on your bed, which is just filthy and disgusting in itself. It says, and into the houses of your servants. All right. Because everything started from Pharaoh on down. Okay. So the servants, and then, the commoners too. It says, and on your people, right there. All right, the common folk of Egypt, all right, on your people. It says, and into your ovens, all right, meaning you can't do anything without the frog being in there. You can't bake, and that would be disgusting, all right, because the frog might, I don't know, they might melt in there, they might burst open, or whatever the case may be. But you got food, you got bread or something in there that you're trying to bake up, all right. So you can't even use your ovens without cleaning the frogs out. And who knows if they were able to? Maybe they could clean the frogs out and they turn around. There's more frogs in there. All right. So it says, and into your ovens and your kneading bowls, which that goes deal with, as we just spoke about, your dough. All right. So your dough is filthy because who wants to eat dough that has been jumped on by some nasty river frogs? All right. So it says, so the frogs will come up on you and your people and all your servants. Then the Lord said to Moses, say to Aaron, stretch out your hand with your staff over the rivers, over the streams and canals, over the pools, among the reeds, all right, which, is going into the, the little bushes and, little small plants and whatnot that be on the side of the rivers and stuff. It says, and make frogs come up on the land of Egypt. So now he's not going to go and walk through all the entire land of Egypt and hit every river and stream and canal and pool and pond and whatnot. No, he's doing this over the Nile River. All right. So they're standing next to the Nile River. All right. He's going to stretch his hand out over the Nile River, and then everything is going to fall under that. All right. So it says, so Aaron stretched out his hand with his staff over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt. All right. And so this is important to what the Lord is doing here, all right, as all of these plagues are, because, and we've talked about this recent, but not from this aspect, because that God of the frogs there would be this individual here. Look at this ugly face. Look at that thing. You see, the goddess Heket, all right, the frog deity in ancient Egypt, all right. As a matter of fact, I wonder if I can get that one. I don't think it downloaded. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. All right, so it says Heket is the Egyptian goddess of fertility and is often depicted as a frog. She is also associated with birth, excuse me, with birth, generation, creation, and midwifery. All right. And it says down here, it says in ancient Egyptian religion and mythology, Heket, also spelled Hektit or Hekt, was a frog-headed goddess who personified generation, birth, and fertility. Heket was sometimes depicted with the body of a frog, and frog amulets were common in ancient Egypt as charms for fertility. So this is one thing. Now, also, because this was spoken about recently, dealing with, let me see what this is real quick. Heket was one of the earliest goddesses in the Egyptian pantheon, basically meaning, that collection of gods that they worshipped. She was sometimes depicted with the body of a frog, but also as a human with a frog head. Frog amulets were commonly worn as fertility charms. Heket was associated with birth and fertility because frogs lay many eggs. Heket was also associated with life after death because frogs disappeared from drying up lakes. You see, Heket was also associated with life after death because frogs disappeared from drying up lakes in the summer and returned when the lakes refilled. Heket's name was part of the names of some high dynasty individuals. All right. So that's one thing, dealing with Heket. And as I was just saying there, this is something that was mentioned recently. All right. Where we saw the thing from Elon Musk where he changed his name to Kekius Maximus. All right. Or Kek for short. Okay. because Kek is the reason why Hekek comes up instead of Kek is because Hekek is the more known. All right, Kek is the lesser known of the two, even though it's the male deity. Let's see if we can find it down here. Here it is right here. A lesser known Egyptian god. See, a lesser known Egyptian god, Kek, was also sometimes shown in the form of a frog. Texts of the late period describe the Ogdoad of Hermopolis or Hermopolis, a group of 8 primeval gods, as having the heads of frogs for the male and having the heads of serpents female, and they are often depicted in this way in reliefs of the way of the what of the Greco-Roman period. Why is that even important to get excited about? Well, not excited, but because you remember now, Edomites took over Egypt. All right. So as it says, and they are often depicted in this way in reliefs of the Greco-Roman period. And we know that those individuals of the Ptolemaic dynasty, all right, those individuals who Greek generals of Alexander took over Egypt. So that's why a lot of things that that Esau deals with actually goes back to ancient Egypt. All right, a lot of those things, they're dealing with different gods and magic and things of that nature. A lot of those things go back to, Egyptian mythology and things of that nature, because at one point they took over Egypt, and so as Esau does, he always feigns himself to be those people, and he'll take on things of those people, and to really sell it that he is those people. Okay, and so Kek, all right, is something that was also talked about, but one and the same, Hekek as well as Kek, all right, both being these so-called frog guys, all right, and also I think it's furthermore, I don't know if we can find it here, what Kek was about. It's more Hekek right there. But I believe it's about the god of darkness or something like that. Chaos, I believe, something like that. Darkness and chaos or something like that. I don't think we'll be able to find it here. Look, we're talking about amulets shaping like frogs dating back to prehistoric times. Okay, yeah, if you say so. So yeah, I don't think we'll find what we're looking for exactly. Let's see what. Oh, here it is right here. See, Kek. Kek is the Egyptian god of chaos. You see, yep, I was right. Chaos and darkness. Yep. Egyptian god of chaos and darkness. Often depicted as a man with a frog's head, chaos has become a symbol of traditionalists, Bannonites, and the alt-right. All right. So yeah, you see, God of chaos and darkness. And this is what Elon Musk just changed his name to. Okay. And then we just mentioned the Greco-Roman period. They were showing release of this. This comes from ancient Egypt. All right. So all these things, that's why the scriptures say there's nothing new under the sun. Okay. They're trying to feign themselves gods and immortals and things of that nature. All right. Which is no different than what Pharaoh was doing. All right. He saw himself to somewhat be a god, even though they had gods that they worshiped. He himself, he was in an arrogant state that he is, some kind of powerful or some kind of power. All right. And you see these Edomites doing the same thing today, which Elon Musk is low level, but we're just mentioning him because this is who it was connected to. Right. And so what you see the Lord doing is attacking these false gods and idols that he worships or that they worship. You see? So bam, you can't make that up, man. So let's go back over here, right, to Exodus chapter 8, verse 6. It says, so Aaron stretched out his hand with his staff over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt. But the magicians, soothsayer priests, did the same thing with their secret arts and enchantments, because that was a big thing. All right. Egyptians were very big on magic, right? Very big on magic. Okay. They saw themselves, as champion magic users, right? So it says that the same thing with their secret arts and enchantments. And you see that, all right? All with this Egyptian stuff is often associated with magic. Even who was Michael Jackson did the video. Remember the time? All right. He was doing what magic in that video. Not saying it was real magic, but I'm just saying, what he was depicting there. And that was what about Egyptians, okay? So yeah, Egyptians prided themselves a lot in their magic, man. And Esau has taken a lot of that knowledge, all right, and which is left hand knowledge, but knowledge nonetheless, he's taken a lot of that left-hand knowledge from those Egyptians, and he's incorporated into, what they have going on. All right. As Edomites. So it says, but the magicians, soothsayer priests, did the same thing with their secret arts and enchantments and brought up more frogs on the land of Egypt. So basically, they're replicating the frog plague. All right. Saying that, hey, your God is, not real, or he's not all powerful, or whatever, they were trying to say by doing this. All right. Like, look, we can do this too. All right. If you can do it, I can do it better. Verse 8 says, the Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron and said, plead with the Lord that he may take away the frogs from me and my people, and I will let the people go so that they may sacrifice to the Lord. So if you read over this too quickly, right, you don't get, what just happened here. So it says, but the magicians, the soothsayer priests, did the same thing with their secret art and enchantments and brought up more frogs on the land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh called Moses and said, plead with the Lord that he may take away the frogs from me and my people, right? So basically he's saying, like, look, hey, I understand these frogs that your God did, right? But look, my people could do the same thing. So it's not really, it's just more magic, all right? So look, listen, why don't you just go to your God and just, ask him to take away these frogs, because it's just magic. So they basically were underplaying the Lord, right? That was the whole point of the magicians replicating what Moses and Aaron were sent to do by the Lord, all right? To make it, to pretty much downplay the Lord. And what did it do every single time? It boosted Pharaoh's ego, and it boosted his pride. And as it says, it hardened his heart. All right. And there's a purpose behind that. All right. So keep going. So verse 9 says, and Moses said to Pharaoh, I am entirely at your service. When shall I plead with the Lord for you and your servants and your people, so that the frogs may leave you and your houses and remain only in the Nile? Then Pharaoh said, tomorrow. Moses replied, may it be as you say, so that you may know without any doubt and acknowledge that there is no one like the Lord our God. The frogs will leave you and your houses and leave your servants and your people. They will remain only in the Nile. All right. So this was the agreement. All right. So, all right. So I'm gonna hit up the Lord. I'm gonna ask him to take this plague away from you and your people. All right. And they're gonna go back to the Nile River, and where they obviously came up from. But check out what happens more. So verse 12 says, so Moses and Aaron left Pharaoh, and Moses cried out to the Lord as he had agreed to do concerning the frogs. It says, which the Most High had inflicted on Pharaoh. The Lord did as Moses asked, and the frogs died out of their houses, out of the courtyards and villages, and out of the fields. So you have to understand, these frogs were everywhere. All right. It says, so they piled them up in heaps, and the land was detestable and stink. Yeah, because man, you know, just frogs alone, are kind of stinky, right? Especially if you ever owned like you've owned a fish tank, almost an aquarium, but that would be like a bigger, like a huge building type. But you get my point though. Like a fish tanks stink, man. All right. Not saying that they just normally stink, but like because you feed the fish food, they're gonna eat the food. Sometimes some of the food drops to the bottom. They may pick it up. They may not find everything. They're also gonna poop, which is gonna also float to the bottom, and and even the fish themselves will get off. So fish tanks, before that cleaning period, all right, they're gonna stink, man. All right, they smell really bad. All right, and so when you drain the water out to clean the tank and so on and so forth and refill it back, you smell that stench, man, from a fish tank. Fish tanks stink, all right. And so, frogs, which, being aquatic, creatures, all right, they stink as well, all right, under this water. So you're not just talking about, a creature that, naturally gives off a kind of rank smell, but now you're talking about a bunch of dead frogs, all right? So this smell is probably very, very terrible because this was everywhere. It was all across the land. It was in people's, like I just said, the courtyards. It was in their houses. It was in their ovens. It was in the rivers and the streams and the ponds and things of that nature. So these were everywhere. And I guess those that were alive went back to the Nile River, but the majority of them obviously did. Well, I mean, obviously died, which I'm pretty sure a lot of them were just floating around dead at the top of the Nile River. All right. So this was a very terrible smell right here. So they piled them up in heaps, and the land was detestable and stank. But when Pharaoh saw that there was temporary relief, right, because the Lord took away this plague, all right, he killed all the frogs, what happened? He hardened his heart and would not listen or pay attention to them, just as the Lord had said, because he told Moses already, Pharaoh's going to harden his heart. You want to tell him to let my people go, but he's not going to let you go. He's going to harden his heart. Okay. So the Lord already warned Moses that this would happen, right? And he's constantly bringing these plagues, but this is all a build up to something bigger, all right? But on a lesser level, all right, these different plagues, all right, no pun intended, plague these Egyptians, but also these plagues were associated with things that they worship, man. These false gods, all right, that they worshipped. You see? So moving on, now it says the plagues of gnats and insects, okay? So it says, then the Lord said to Moses, say to Aaron, stretch out your staff and strike the dust of the ground, and it will become biting gnats, lice throughout all the land of Egypt. Now it kind of reads, we'll read the next few. We'll get that KJV. So it says, they did so. Aaron stretched out his hand with his staff and struck the dust of the earth, and there were biting gnats on man and animal. All the dust of the land became gnats through all the land of Egypt. The magicians, soothsayer priests, tried by their secret arts and enchantments to create gnats, but they could not, and there were gnats on man and animal. All right. So if you read this in the KJV, right, it says what? The plague of insects. So it says, and Yahweh said unto Moses, say unto Aaron, stretch out thy rod and smite the dust of the land, that it may become lice throughout all the land of Egypt. Now, this lice was a very serious thing to these Egyptians, man. And I mentioned this once before. All right, if this was the ancient time, and you would see Pharaoh, not Pharaoh, you see Yahusop, you see Joseph today, it would have been you know, out of the normal to have seen Joseph with a bald, shaved down head. All right, because the Egyptians were heavy on lice. All right, because with the heat or whatnot. Okay, with the long hair. This is why you would see them wear those little fake wigs, all right, all the time. You could tell, those wigs, so all the hair looks the same on everybody. But it was because they often had, bald heads, right? Especially during the times of heat, because that heat would bring forth lice. So, it terrified them. So they will often keep their heads and, a lot of their body parts shaved, okay, because, they were afraid of lice. All right. And so as far as their heads would go, they would have those fake hair hats or whatever you want to call them, right? Those hair hats, all right? You will often see that, okay? Because lice was a very big thing to them, all right? And it just says gnats, or gnat swarm, all right? Cut 9, root support of tree, root shoot stock. So yeah, here it says gnat or gnat swarm, all right? So this is what they're talking about. It says that it may become lice throughout all the land of Egypt. And they did so, for Aaron stretched out his hand with his rod and smote the dust of the earth, and it became lice in man and in beast. All the dust of the land became lice throughout all the land of Egypt. All the dust, man. Just imagine, because Egypt, or not. Well, I mean, you can say Egypt. Well, I was, speaking those general territories, or that geographical location. There's a lot of dust, all right, land, all right, a lot of dust. Okay. You even got areas of desert, all right? So just imagine that, all right? You can't even let's say, like you might have played basketball back in the day, you didn't always have a court. You might have been in the backyard with a court. So just imagine, but your boys back there playing basketball, and it's a lot of foot movement. And so what happens is going to be a lot of dust kicking up. So imagine all that dust, right? All that dust is kicking up, okay? It's lice. And you talk about the land of Egypt, right? This big, huge territory, man. That is crazy scary, man. Just all the dust everywhere. Lice. It didn't even have to be a foot kicking up dust. It could just be a strong wind coming from somewhere. And that's going to cause what? Dust, because it's pretty much the dirt of the ground getting kicked up into the air. All right. So it could have been just a strong wind blowing by and kicking up dust, and the dust is turning into lice. So that is crazy, man. So it says, and they did so. It says, for Aaron stretched out his hand with his rod and smote the dust of the earth, and it became lice in man and in beast. All the dust of the land became lice throughout all the land of Egypt, man. That is just crazy, man. It says, and the magicians did so with their enchantments to bring forth life. Here's them trying to replicate, what the Lord is doing here, but they could not. Here's where the buck stops, man. They couldn't do this, all right? It was one thing to make a snake. It was another thing to call up some frogs. But now you're talking about something on a massive scale. Dust everywhere throughout all the land and turn it all to lice. They couldn't do it, all right? Honestly, there was no replicating this, because if the Lord already turned all the dust into lice, where are you going to get extra dust from? You can't do this. The Lord's already doing this. There's no possible way for you to replicate this. All right. It goes to show you the difference between magic and actual power. All right. So it says, and the magicians did so with their enchantments. All right. To bring forth lice. All right. Their enchantments. It says lot, secrecy, mystery, enchantment. All right. Pretty much the same thing there. Let's see what this says. Lot. Same thing. Let's go back. It says to bring forth lice, but they could not. So there were lice upon men and upon beasts. And you know what? Now I'm thinking about it. I wonder if there's anything associated with this lice. I still got that page. Let me see if there's. We'll take this and see if there's something associated with lice. Possibly, maybe not. Or I probably should have put insects, maybe. Okay, yep, straight to it though. Look, in ancient Egyptian mythology, uh, and they pulled up flies here. I didn't type in flies, but hey, whatever. It says in ancient Egyptian mythology, the plague of lice was a punishment against Geb, the god of the earth. You see? and what did the Lord do, man? The dust of what? Of the earth shall all become lice, man. So these are direct attacks against these fake gods and idols that Pharaoh and his people worship, the Egyptians worship. You see? So you can't make it up, man. So it says, let me read it again. It says, in ancient Egyptian mythology, the plague of lice was a punishment against Geb, the god of the earth. All right. And that actually looks like that Anubis thing. I'm not sure. I don't know who this Geb is. All right. My name is Geb. So, okay. So I was right. It does look like the Anubis, but I'm not sure if that's the same little entity. Look, I mentioned that the other day, little green and blue people and stuff like that. Something with a falcon head or eagle head, whatever. I believe that's the one they call Toth or Thoth or something like that. I don't see this particular one unless I'm just looking over it, because I don't know these daggone. Now I looked that up before. Kepri, all right, supposed to be similar, to the. There's no actual. Supposedly, there's no god of the flies, but and that's a scarab beetle there. Let me go back over here and see what it has over here. See what we can dig up. So it says the plague of lice is described in the book of Exodus. The plague was a demonstration of God's power over the earth. The plague affected both humans and animals. The plague was a nightmare for Egypt's religious leaders who were very concerned about lice, which we mentioned. We talked about that, right? The Egyptian magicians were unable to replicate the plague. He's still in my word, replicate. Unable to replicate the plague, which proved its divine origin. Right, and we just mentioned the same thing. What's this? Lice from the earth's dust, Geb. Still, Pharaoh would not concede even after this display of power from the Lord or magnificent plague. He would not let them go at the command of. So he's just basically telling us the story. He's going to tell us. Okay, let's get this. Targeted God, Geb, the god of the earth. Explanation: by turning the dust of the earth into natural lice. This plague challenged Geb directly at the core of his domain, the earth itself. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much straightforward there. All right, what did lice symbolize in ancient Egypt? The Egyptian magicians could not replicate the plague of lice, proving its divine. We just read that, didn't we? Yeah. So I mean, man, hey, it's straightforward there. You can't make it up. I want to see, is that the thing though? Egyptian gods of the 10 plagues, the book and the author. Cause like I said, what was that dude? Kepri, something like that. Let me see if I can let's go back and take this off and type up Kepri or Capri, however you want to. Okay, so yeah, that's dealing with something else. All right, so yeah, so going back. All right, so you see what's happening here. All right, so it says, and the magicians did so with their enchantments to bring forth lice, but they could not. So there were lice upon men and lice upon beasts. And you know what? We never did this. Well, the same word. Got the wrong one. I actually wanted to pull up lice, but let's see what gnat. Let's go with gnat swarm. Causes swarm gnats. May. Let's see if we can light up the word lice. Yeah, cool. Lice are tiny, wingless, parasitic. I apologize if you're squeamish. A little bit late now. Tiny, wingless, parasitic insects that feed on human blood. They can infest the head, body, and pubic area. And we just mentioned these things, right? The Egyptians will make sure that they stayed shaved, especially, all right, during like their more warmer times of climate, summer, and the hotter weather, right? Those time periods, right? Because they were more known to come along, during those hot periods. All right. So they will most definitely stay shaved. And, the individuals, men and women, both will wear these hair hats. All right. So it says head of lice. These lice live in their hair, on the head, eyebrows, and eyelashes. They are most common in children, but can also affect teens. And if I'm correct, they used to have, well, the eye, around the eyes is one thing, but I believe the eyebrows used to also be painted. Okay, sometimes with people, and it's probably because they shaved off their eyebrows, so they will paint on these fake eyebrows. All right, and you got women that do that today, man. All right, they're wearing hair hats, right, wearing wigs, they're painting, with mascara all over their eyes. All right, they're getting these fake eyelashes, getting these fake eyebrows done, or chopping up the eyebrows and shaping it a certain way. And, a chick walk around looking surprised all the damn time. A lot of these different things go back to Egypt, man. So you can't make it up, man. It says body lice. These lice live in clothing and bedding and travel to the skin to feed on blood. They are most commonly found around the neck, shoulders, You see, they have to shave everything: neck, shoulders, armpits, waist, and groin. Crab lice. These lice infect the pubic area. All right. So yeah. What's the other creature they call? Bed bugs, right? It sounds similar to a bed bug, which if it looks like a bed bug. As a matter of fact, I'm not skilled in this. They're probably the same thing, but I could be just thinking that. I'm not sure. Not an expert on that. Symptoms: itching, especially in the back of the head and neck and near the ears. Small oval blobs on hair shafts called nits, which look like dandruff but don't brush off easily. All right. Close contact with someone who has lice. Touching clothing or bedding of someone who has lice. Sharing hats, towels, brushes, or combs of someone who has lice. Man, it says lice don't carry bacterial or viral diseases, which is crazy because they just said that they, like to feed on blood. So if one goes to another, and yeah, I don't know, whatever. Either of two small wingless parasitic insects that live on the skin of mammals and birds. What are the other? It says two, but it only gives us one. All right, so I think we got enough from there. I think the point is made up because we already back. All right, so the point is made on that, man. So you see what the Lord is doing, man. So it says, and the magicians did so with their enchantments to bring forth lice, but they could not. So there were lice upon men and upon beasts. Then the magician said unto Pharaoh, Then the magicians said unto Pharaoh, "This is the finger of God." You see, there's no more denying it. This is the finger of God. I wonder what comes up for this. So it just says finger. So, you know what? I'm curious though what it reads in other versions. That was verse 19. AMP, and then verse 19. Then the magician said to Pharaoh, "This is the supernatural finger of God." But Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he would not listen to them. Let's see what the NLT reads. NLT, verse 19. This is the finger of God. Same thing. The magicians exclaimed to Pharaoh. All right. So it's also I saw the same thing there, but it's basically saying, hey, this is the power of that God that these Hebrews worship, man. There's nothing we can do. All right. It says, then the magician said unto Pharaoh, this is the finger of God. All right. This is basically the Lord's work. All right. It says, and Pharaoh's heart was hardened. Okay. Oh, did we ever get hardened? I'm not sure if we got hardened because it comes up about 800,000 times. All right. So it says to strengthen. All right. That's the word kazak, man. All right. To be strong or strong. Let's see what we can find else here. Here we go. To make rigid, make hard. Uh, Probably could use to hold or contain, maybe. To hold strongly with. Okay. To withstand. All right. So yeah, he hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he hearkened not unto them as the Lord had said. Because over and over and over, it's the same thing. All right. He's not going to let you go. I'm going to tell him to let my people go. He's not going to let you go. All right. You're going to drop a plague. He's going to, he's going to harden his heart, so on and so forth. There's a constant cycle there. So it says, and the Lord said unto Moses, rise up early in the morning and stand before Pharaoh. Lo, he cometh forth to the water, and say unto him, thus saith the Lord, let my people go, that they may serve me. Yeah, there's water is talking about the Nile River. I believe it'll tell you that in AMP, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so it says, now the Lord said to Moses, get up early in the morning and stand before Pharaoh as he is coming uh out to the water of the Nile, and say to him, thus says the Lord, let my people go so that they may serve me. And from Pharaoh's standpoint, this is probably very aggravating. All right, over and over and over, every time he sees Moses, he's saying the same thing: let my people go that they may serve me, let my people go, let my people go. All right, so it's probably very aggravating to Pharaoh, but he was very he was very arrogant. So it says, let me see here. Yeah, verse 21. Verse 21 says, for if you do not let my people go, hear this. I will send swarms of blood-sucking insects on you and on your servants and on your people and into your houses, and the houses of the Egyptians will be full of swarms of insects, as well as the ground on which they stand. All right. So here it is, another threat being made. Let's go back to the KJV so we can read this. It says blood-sucking there. Okay, so it says right here, it says verse 21 says, else if thou wilt not let my people go, behold, I will send swarms of flies upon thee, okay, and upon thy servants and upon thy people and into thy houses, and the houses of the Egyptians shall be full of swarms of flies, and also the ground whereon they are. All right, so flies everywhere, and they're very disgusting, coming from maggots. I don't know if we'll be able to pull that up. Actually, I didn't want that. We can still use this. Flies. See, this is what I mentioned before, that the Khepri, right? In ancient Egyptian mythology, there is no single explicit named god of flies, but the closest association will be with Khepri, often depicted with a scarab beetle head, which is sometimes linked to the concept of flies due to the beetle's behavior of rolling dung balls. All right, which you can see that, like, if you ever watch, like Planet Earth and stuff like that, when they're dealing with, the certain episodes they're dealing with the desert, you'll see this dung beetle, rolling this, little ball, which will be very long distances sometimes. Even sometimes they have to go up this, sand dune, and it's very hard because they have to roll it up, and they do it backwards, all right, because it's easier for them. So they're basically kicking with their hind legs and walking backwards to its destination, all right, and that's if they ever make it, all right. That's a little, side note there. Seen as a representation of the sun's movement across the sky. However, this connection is not a direct portrayal of flies as a deity. All right, so there's no thing, directly associated. See, there's another thing. Okay, so we have something here. It says the Egyptian deity usually associated with flies. Actually, the Hebrew word in Exodus is swarm, is the goddess of Ch.8, whatever. She is the lady of the marshes where papyrus grows and many insects live. But does it mention this thing here? Let's see if we can It's not a known goddess in Egyptian mythology, but there's some. Okay, so I don't know what that. Oh, crap. Let's just go back to this, and we'll just keep that page because we need it. So, anyways, all right. So we got another plague here, man, and we know these flies, are very, very, very disgusting. All right, they come from maggots. All right. And they don't do well in the cold air. All right. If you ever studied a fly, right, you got a fly in your house. Say it's the summertime. Okay, you can't catch it. You notice eventually what a fly will do, it'll end up in your windowsill, behind the blinds or whatnot. It's because they're looking for that heat, all right? Flies don't do well in heat because they can't flap those wings like they want to. And so eventually they got to land and sit down, which that's basically your best time to try to kill it, instead of chasing it around the house like a mad person, all right? Once it cools down enough, hey, that fly can't float around no more. He's got to sit down somewhere, and then you can go and easily catch it, all right? And the same thing for maggots, right? When maggots, come, about, they'll be searching for the heat. If they're near a cold area, all right, they'll know exactly where to find heat, and they'll start crawling towards that heat, man. All right, so that's a natural thing for them. Okay, Snapple facts. So yeah, dealing with these flies, it says, else if thou wilt not let my people go, behold, I will send swarms of flies upon thee, and upon thy servants, and upon thy people, and into thy houses, and the houses of Egyptians shall be full of swarms of flies, and also the ground whereon they are. Oh, let's get that word swarms there. So we just saw that. Arab, swarm, probable meaning from mixture and incessant or involved motion. Yeah, that's what flies do. They swarm. Okay. So we need that. So it says, and I will just think about it, man, because flies are aggravating, man. You swatting flies, all right, and they just keep buzzing around your ear and buzzing around your face, and land on your head and your arm, your hand, everywhere, right? So imagine a swarm, just flies everywhere. Okay, they probably flying in people's ears, noses, mouth. They got it open, and man, flying in their clothes, because there's flies everywhere, flies on the ground. Just man, crazy. And I would not have wanted to be, these Egyptians, man. It says, and I will sever in that day the land of Goshen. Why is Goshen important? All right, Goshen. Okay, Goshen. All right, so it says, drawing near, says a region in northern Egypt, east of the lower Nile, where the children of Israel lived from the time of Joseph to the time of Moses. And it says the time of Joseph because if you go back to the end of Genesis, all right, you have the famine that took place, all right, which came by a dream that Pharaoh had, and Yahweh interpreted. All right, the 7 years of plenty and the 7 years of famine. And his family, all right, dealing particularly with Jacob and the 12, or the sons that is, and all that came from them, their sons and daughters, all right, they were affected very heavily by the famine. And they had to come to Egypt, to buy, food. All right, and that's where they had to come to Joseph, which of course at first they didn't know it was Joseph because he had to reveal himself. All right, but the point being, Joseph's whole story, or not the whole story, but because a lot of his story deals with faith, but also the latter portion of his story, the reason why he ended up in Egypt, all right, he said it himself, was to deliver his family, man, because of this plague. All right, so the Lord set me up so that that all of you could be preserved. And so basically, eventually, once his father found out, Joseph was alive and so on and so forth, and he basically moved them into Egypt. But he said that you know, uh, the shepherds are an abomination to the Egyptians. So you're gonna tell Pharaoh that, and because they're not gonna pretty much dwell among you, all right, or you're gonna dwell among them, I should say, because we're going into their land. So that's where they ended up in Goshen, all right. So that's pretty much that pretty much history in a kind of a nutshell, because there's a lot more to it if you'll go read those accounts. That's just the history in a nutshell, all right. And so the Israelites are the ones that lived in the land of Goshen, all right, separate from the Egyptians, because the Egyptians, it was abomination for those individuals to be shepherd, men or whatever the case may be, right, to the Egyptians, all right. So it also says a district of South Palestine, town mountains, Judah, mountains of Judah, probably in the district of Goshen, right? So yeah, so we got Goshen. So we understand Goshen is where the Israelites lived. You see, Goshen, the residence of the Israelites in Egypt. All right, so bam. All right. So it says, and I will sever in that land. I'm sorry, I will sever in that day the land of Goshen. All right. Let's see what sever goes into. Pala, to be distinct, marked out, be separated. You see, be distinguished. All right. To set apart. Okay. He's going to separate the land of Goshen because his people live there. All right, in which my people dwell. There you go. That no swarms of flies shall be there, to the end thou mayest know that I am the Lord Yahweh in the midst of the earth. See, that I'm the power of the earth, not Pharaoh, not these Egyptian gods that they serve and worship. All right, me, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah. All right, so the Lord is planning all these things out. All right. So it says, and I will put a division between my people and thy people. Tomorrow shall this sign be. We always go into that word sign, man. Okay. See, a distinguishing mark, man. Okay. A warning, an omen, a proof. You see? I will put a division between my people and thy people. For you Egyptologists, you committed citizen Israelites and stuff like that. For you people that think, oh, I'm African, I'm going back to Africa. Well, the Lord is separating you Israelites, especially you so-called Negroes, man, all right, you Israelites from these Egyptians, okay? So it says, and I will put a division between my people and thy people. Tomorrow shall this sign be. And the Lord did so. And there came a grievous swarm of flies into the house of Pharaoh. Let's get the word grievous there. I was going to skim over it. All right, kabod, I think the word is there. Heavy, great, massive, abundant, numerous, hard, difficult, burdensome, very oppressive, numerous. Right? Let's go back. There's another word that we go on. A grievous swarm of flies into the house of Pharaoh, and into his servants' houses, and into all the land of Egypt. The land was corrupted by reason of the swarms, or the swarm of flies. All right? Yeah, all the land was corrupted, man, because these flies are disgusting, man. Okay? Ch.8, destroy, corrupt, go to ruin, to pervert, corrupt, deal, corrupt, spoil, ruin, destroy. All right. And if I'm correct, these flies, like when they land on stuff, they'll usually have to soften up because flies, they have the little thing, whatever it's called, to suck up their food like a straw would. Okay. And so if I'm correct, I think I remember this a long time ago. You will fact check me on it. But you see flies doing the little thing with their, we'll just call it hands, the little arms and whatnot, are rubbing it together. I believe they're dropping like something on the food or whatever they land on to soften it up. All right, so they can can kind of liquefy it in a sense, so that they can suck it up into that little antenna straw tube like thing that they eat with. All right, fact check me on that though, because that's if you care to look up these flies or whatnot. But yeah, so you think about if they land on your food, you start to see them rub their little insect little hands together. All right, they're dropping something on your food to soften it up. All right, to you know, and I think that's right. But like I said, fact check me on that. Don't take my word for it. It says, and the Lord did so, and there came a grievous swarm of flies into the house of Pharaoh, and into his servants' houses, and into all the. Matter of fact, let me see something real quick. Let me see if we can. How do flies? Okay, I see something. Eat. Flies eat by regurgitating digestive enzymes onto food. Ugh. Dissolving it into a liquid. Yeah, you see? And then sucking it up with their proboscis. I'll see. I was right. Okay. There you go. Fact check. All right. Stamp it. Taste with their feet. Flies use receptors on their feet to sense the chemistry of what they're on. Regurgitate saliva. If the fly finds something tasty, it regurgitates digestive enzymes onto it. Suck up the liquid. The fly uses its proboscis to suck up the liquefied. There you go. You see? Fact check. All right. Animal Planet. All right. Like my man, the very funny segment. I forget his name, man. Very very funny comedian though. Watch this segment where he did saving the bees. Okay, and he was talking about one portion of that little stand up. It's very funny, man. Where he mentioned watching the Discovery Channel, something like that. He says is very informative. And so now you're informed. Okay. If you watch it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a very funny segment, man. I think it's, man, what is his name? I cannot think of his name. Is it David Greer? Was that dude, David Greer? I don't know, but the segment of that stand-up was called Saving the Bees. Look it up. It's a hilarious segment. Get you a good laugh real quick. Okay. But yeah, the Animal Planet, Planet Earth, all these, because those are my favorite shows, man. They're very informative. We dealing with animals and things of that nature. All right. So bam, fact check. Let's go on back. Let's finish this chapter off. So it says, verse 25 says, and Pharaoh called for Moses and for Aaron and said, go ye, sacrifice to your God in the land. And Moses said, this is key, or not very key, but this is important to point out here. He says, go and sacrifice to your God in the land. All right, here, all right in Egypt, right amongst these Egyptians. And check out what Moses says. And Moses said, it is not meet so to do, for we shall sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians to the Lord our God. Lo, we shall sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians before their eyes, and will they not stone us? All right, so let's get this, simplified for those that didn't understand what was being said there. Actually, what verse was that? Okay, 26. Let's go down here to 26, 25. All right. Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron. All right, go ahead and offer sacrifices to your God, he said, but do it here in this land. But Moses replied, that wouldn't be right. The Egyptians detest the sacrifices that we offer to the Lord our God. All right. Now, there were a lot of things that, they saw as, we'll say, just for lack of better words, holy from their standpoint. All right. And, we did different sacrifices, with bulls and, goats, sheep, and so on and so forth. And a long list of things. All right. And there are a lot of things, all right, that the Egyptians would have seen looking at us like we were crazy. They're sacrificing what animal? Okay. Because we have different views, because we serve the power. All right. And they serve, false gods and idols. All right. They do, according to their own little laws and things of that nature. All right. Um, I'm kind of curious now. Now to think about it, it says the Egyptians detest the sacrifices that we offer to the Lord our God. Look, if we offer sacrifices here where the Egyptians can see us, they will stone us. Let's see the AMP real quick, and I'm gonna jump back over to the KJV for a particular reason. Moses said it is not right or even possible to do that, for we will sacrifice to the Lord our God what is repulsive and unacceptable to the Egyptians. You see, that is animals that the Egyptians consider sacred. As a matter of fact, let's pull this up real quick, because I was actually going to go down to the commentary. All right, but let me get this and see if that'll come up. You see, sacred animals of ancient Egypt, cats. All right, yeah, they were very big on their cats and things of that nature. All right. You got even people that are superstitious today about cats. Black cats, oh, black cat this, black cat that, black cats cross my path, none, blah, blah, blah. All right. Hippopotamus, baboons, crocodile, dogs, ibis. Now, none of these we would have used, all right, these top ones. Fish, gazelles, lion, cattle. There you go, cattle, all right. So I didn't get any specifics there. Falcon, scarabs, birds such as falcons, lions, mongoose, gazelle, fish, hippos, da-da-da. Oh, it was more. Cats and dogs. Wait, hold up. It says, although exotic animals were often kept, domesticated ones such as cat. Okay. Anubis. All right. You see, look, not only were cats highly regarded for their everyday uses, but also in the divine realm. All right. But no, we wouldn't have sacrificed a cat to the Lord, though. But there's certain, animals, all right, bulls, goats, different cattle that would have been, oh, I forgot. Wait, where is it? Okay, I'm gonna have to find my page here. Okay, yeah, beautiful. All right, yeah, that we would have used, as sacrifices, but they would have regarded as, I don't know, holy or sacred or whatever the case may be. You see, so this is what Moses was saying. Nah, Pharaoh, we are not about to do this in front of these Egyptians. All right, because as soon as we grab this, I don't know, we're gonna grab this goat over here. They're gonna say, hold on, Hebrew people, what are you doing with this sacred goat? All right, they're trying to sacrifice a goat, kill him. Okay. So he understood that, man. All right. So it says, but Moses said, it is not right or even possible to do that, for we will sacrifice to the Lord our God what is repulsive and unacceptable to the Egyptians, that is, animals that the Egyptians consider sacred. If we sacrifice what is repulsive and unacceptable to the Egyptians, will they not riot and stone us? You see? We must go 3 days journey, all right, into the wilderness and sacrifice to the Lord our God as he commanded us. Now, also, from the eyes of Pharaoh, you just know something's fishy here. Like, why you gotta go 3 days into the wilderness or into the desert or whatever? You can't go right outside the city or just, a couple miles off, but you gotta go 3 whole days? All the way out there outside of Egypt, away from us. 3 days. You can get a long way in 3 days. So if you were Pharaoh, you'd be thinking like, man, these guys tripping here. Moses and Aaron said 3 days? That sounds fishy as hell, man. All right. But we happen to not be in that position, or as Pharaoh or the Egyptians. I'm just saying, from his point of view, that God had to sound fishy, man. Why you got to go 3 whole days? You know how far y'all can get in 3 days? Y'all trying to escape, man. So verse 7, it says, we will go 3 days journey into the wilderness and sacrifice to the Lord Yahweh our power, and he shall command us. And Pharaoh said, I will let you go, that ye may sacrifice to the Lord your God, all right, Yahweh your power, in the wilderness. Only ye shall not go very far away. Entreat for me, you see? Excuse me. It says entreat for me. Let's see what the word goes into. Pray, supplicate, all right? Make supplication, plead, okay? And he was talking about, this swarm of flies, all right? Entreat for me, all right? Ask about these flies, man, all right? Go and do that, and you got your 3 days, all right? And Moses said, behold, I go out from thee, and I will entreat the Lord Yahweh that the swarms of flies may depart from Pharaoh, from his servants, and from his people tomorrow. But let not Pharaoh, and notice how it says tomorrow. This is the second time it says tomorrow. Yeah, you're gonna feel this for 24 hours though, but we got you tomorrow though, all right? It says, but let not Pharaoh deal deceitfully anymore, because he's done this multiple times now, in not letting the people go to sacrifice to Yahweh. But you can already guess what's coming. And Moses went out from Pharaoh and entreated Yahweh, and Yahweh did according to the word of Moses, and he removed the swarms of flies from Pharaoh, from his servants, and from his people. There remained not one. And what happened? And Pharaoh hardened his heart at this time also, neither would he let the people go. All right, so it's about to get real funky as we keep moving on, all right? Because this is a constant thing with Pharaoh, but this was meant to be, and the Lord already warned Moses about this, all right? So that's the end of Exodus chapter 8. Right, Lord willing, you will edify to next time. Yahshua going to say Shalom.